while we're in the process of designing the main structure of our shed, there are still a few features we need to cover, such as the ability to add concrete or bay openings, or remove or add internal and external walls, how to create concrete drop downs, and maybe mezzanines and awnings. So in this video, we're going to cover a few of those items. And to start, I'll invite you to open your Shedmate environment, and you can do this with me as you can watch this video. Just feel free to pause, go to your Shedmate, play a little bit with it, so you're going to have a much better understanding of it once you practice the system. So if you open the walls and slabs, you can see nice floor plan. So imagine we are cutting the shed here on the middle, removing the top cover, and then we're looking down to it like from a top view. And we can see here the front, left, right, and back of my shed. And what I like to do is I like to generally click on my roof and hide it, because it gives me that interior visualization in a much better way. So from here, you could click on the middle lines, and this is internal walls. So I can add and remove them as I want. For instance, just adding 2 here, or I'm just gonna move to this end wall. So we have 2 like internal walls. And if I want, I could actually delete the walls around by doing just this, just clicking on the back and front. So now I have a structure that looks like a kind of garaport, right? But much larger. And from here, I could create specific settings about my concrete. So depending on the shed usage, you might need concrete in just a few bays, not in the whole shed, or you just might not need concrete at all. If you don't need concrete, just click on the main slab and it's gonna remove the concrete from the whole shed. But if you just need concrete on the middle, you can do this, and then you have concrete just on that area. Or if you have a concrete on both areas, but you need like a drop down, the way you do it is just by activating back the concrete and clicking on that little icon there. So if I click here, Shedmate is gonna ask me what's the drop down, and if I put here, for instance, let's say 30 mil, so Shedmate's now gonna drop this a little bit. So if I click on this wall and hide all of the walls, by zooming in here, I can see that there is a little drop down, and I could easily see this by just manipulating this guy and say, let's say it's gonna be -50. So we can see that's changing a little bit there, all the way to 0, where it's just like leveled concrete. So let's put here -30, and I'll just put -30 on the end as well. And you can do this that by just clicking here, and what it does is activates and breaks that concrete. So now I have a concrete slab here, here, and here. And note that the concrete modifications, they are the same. This is 100. If this one here is like a thicker one, we could just say 150. So this is all adding up to your bill of materials, and it's going to impact your shed price if you are considering concrete in your quotation. You're going to see that in your Shedmate setup. That's generally what we do there. We just in your onboarding, just make sure that we are considering everything for your cost. All right, so this is a little bit about the shed design, and now just going in more advanced features, you can notice that there's kind of a red circle here when I created the bay opening. So the bay opening is actually kind of an element of your shed. So we can add bay openings to our sheds, we can remove them, and here I could play with the height. So this is 4.2 because it's just the whole height of the wall, and I could change this to 3.5. So when I do this, Shedmate is actually gonna allow the additional cladding, and it just puts an additional sidewall guard. It's not showing because the visibility is it's hitting the walls, but now we can see that. So just going to the other side and do the same. So I'll click on that bay opening and say, all right, I want this to be 3.5 meters. Oh, sorry, not the bay offset, obviously the height. 3.5, there we go. So I have both sides there. And if I want to do this on this one, all I have to do here is just create a bay opening for the end walls. The way the end walls work is when we just click here on the end walls, it actually deletes that wall. And if I click on that deleted wall and just restore it, I could go to my add things, click on walls, and click on bay opening, and add a bay opening here and here. So I can now manipulate those different openings individually, and I could do the same. Just put 3.5 meters high, and for this one, 3.5 meters high. And now we have a very nice, a very nice cladding around it. So if I go to my visibility and show my cladding, I can see how that's gonna look like once, you know, Shedmate creates that cladding design for us. All right, so now going back to the other side here, I'm just gonna do a few modifications. We can see that the internal girts is not as we wanted. Simple fix, we just click on the wall and flip it, and now the wall goes to the other side. And the reason of this is because we created an internal wall, so you just need to decide which of the walls are gonna be cladded, right? Also, this is another example why we restore the wall on the other side, because we cannot edit the height, because it's not a bay opening. It's just like a wall that's being deleted. So what I'm gonna do is I could press delete on my keyboard or just restore. It's gonna bring it back, and then we can do exactly the same as we did on the other one. Just go to bay opening, create 2 bay openings there, and just change the height to 3.5. So as you can see, by using these different like settings inside Shedmate, we can create multiple design options for our clients. And the best part of it is, as we're doing them, Shedmate's just redoing all of the bill of materials and everything as we go. Other things we could do here, still talking about, you know, the main shed design, is the awnings. So I could add an awning at the moment to the left and right side of my shed. So I'll just click here left, actually I'll just delete, put on the right. And then I have this awning here. And what I can do is actually select in my awning the height. So because I have 3.5 meters there, I'll just maybe put here 3.7. And what I can do is click on the walls, hit delete on my walls, or just create bay openings on them. And this should, you know, give me that additional views around. So let's do it. Just gonna add here on my walls some bay openings, and we can do that one by one or all of them. And there we go. So now I have the same shed structure that I had before, but now I have an awning to it. So by using a combination of these different items, we can create different shed designs inside Shedmate, and it looks really cool. And the last one I would like to cover here, because it's quite simple, is the mezzanines. But the modifications in the awning, it's generally done inside the awnings panel. So from here I could change the rafter position to fix or truss over. I could change the roof angle of that building. And in this case, I might try to, you know, get something very close there. And as I'm adding an additional roof angle, it's just, you know, decreasing the height of these columns. So this might generally be 5 degrees, should do. I had the width of it, so I could just manipulate here how wide I want it to be. So in this case, I'll just put like 3.5. That should do for what I need, a small one. And I could add purling bridgings to it as well, so it just adds the purling bridgings on the structure. And the height here, once again, this can be manipulated, and I'll just put it back to maybe 3.6, and there we do. There we go. So the other thing that we can do here is just to add a mezzanine. So just go to the mezzanine panel and click add mezzanine. So the mezzanine was added to the first bay, and I could just use these buttons to move it around. So now it's in the other bay. So I'll just once again hide that roof, and I can see here my mezzanine. So it generally has a mezzanine floor by default, and all of the structure is already included there. So I could stand off flip back beam. So I'm not going to cover this in details right now. We're going to have specific videos for that. But the main items we want to do here is the height. So because I have a roller door here that's 3 meters high, I might do this 3.5. And then I have kind of a storage item there. So as you can see, this is probably going to clash with my roller door, the roller there. So I'm just going to put a little bit higher. And yep, and there we go. So we have our kind of storage on the top of that roller door. If you didn't have a roller door, you could just play with that height to do whatever you want, and you can add more mezzanines. So once again, just moving it back to the third bay and moving the height. So we could go to this one. Okay, that's 4 meters high, and I could match that. This one, I'm gonna put 4 here as well. And now in that little bay, we have another mezzanine added to it. So going inside, we can see how it's going to look like. So it seems like more a, you know, storage, and maybe going down a little bit so we don't conflict with the brackets that are gonna go here. 3.8 kind of looks better now. So this is it. This is how you can manipulate different items inside Shedmate to create different shed designs. We can add awnings to it. We can change the concreting layout and structure. We can play with the openings to create nice cladding around it, or just delete walls or include internal walls. And then this just adds up the possibilities for you to create shed designs for your customers. In the next videos, we're gonna see more items, how we can actually manipulate the items specific for the shed, just like the doors, the openings, the roof items such as skylights, spinaways, and a lot more.